The Global Fintech Fest is one of the largest fintech conferences organized annually by the Payments Council of India, the National Payments Corporation of India, and the Fintech Convergence Council. Over the past 4 years, the Global Fintech Fest has become the largest thought leadership platform in the fintech landscape, with global policymakers, regulators, central bankers, innovators, thought leaders, and senior industry professionals gathering to discuss and debate issues related to the fintech ecosystem 360 degrees. And now the Global Fintech Fest is back this year for its 5th edition at the Geo World Convention Center in Mumbai. Reflecting its status as a catalyst for change in the fintech ecosystem, the theme at the Global Fintech Fest this year was Blueprint for the Next Decade of Finance: Responsible AI, Inclusive, Resilient. It underscores the Fest's commitment to addressing the most pressing challenges and opportunities in finance. Besides hundreds of sessions, the Global Fintech Fest also included workshops, hackathons, and an exhibition of fintech innovations. A clean fintech player at the exhibition was Mastercard, with its commitment to making commerce safer, smarter, and more inclusive. Explaining it further was Mastercard's Chief Product Officer, Jon Lambert.
We're here at the Global Fintech Fest in Mumbai, and I'm speaking today with Jon Lambert of Mastercard in a very exciting time for Mastercard and their plans in India, I think for Mastercard worldwide as well. Jon, great sitting down and speaking with you. I believe this is your first time at GFF?
That's correct. I'm delighted to be here. It's an incredible event. 80,000 people I've heard. What a buzz. And very excited to be here at the, as you say, very momentous time for payments in India, payments in the world. Look, first and foremost, the reason why we're launching products, the reason why we're here today is because India is really the fintech capital of the world at the moment. That's why Mastercard, we've invested a big office. We have about over 6,000 people in Pune. We have more people in Vadodara. These people are looking at what's happening here, or interpreting, or developing, or leaning in, and then we export what we do here to the rest of the world. So really, really excited.
I was taking off from the point that you made of India being the fintech capital, and perhaps because now so many people can use digital payments even if they don't know how to use a smartphone fully. But with that comes higher risks, even with the system we have. How does Mastercard plan to play a role in making those payments safer?
Yeah, there's no doubt that whereas we're excited about it, whereas we're leaning into new tech, the bad actors are excited about this too. And so we really need to stay ahead of this. And the way we're thinking about this is to re-architect payments from the ground up. This is how tokenization was born, right? What tokenization essentially does is to make sure that the payment credential of a person never is shared with a third party, but instead what we share with a third party is a proxy, is a token with some very clever cryptography attached to that, so that whenever a fraudster gets their hand on it, it's rendered useless. So that's, to me, something again where India has led. In India, we authenticate. You do your one-time password when you make a payment, and then people are lured in to sharing their one-time password. And if a scammer with social engineering, with generative AI, gets their hand on that password and replays it. That's where payment passkeys comes in. What payment passkeys is essentially doing is it takes your biometric, it tokenizes it. It doesn't share your face picture. It tokenizes it and then uses that to authenticate the payments. India is tokenized in terms of your credential. Your payment, like for Mastercard, the 16-digit number is tokenized in India, and that, if it gets stolen, is useless to a fraudster. What we haven't tokenized yet is the passwords to enter or to authenticate your payment, your OTP that you get on your SMS. That hasn't tokenized yet. What we haven't tokenized is other data, the shopping data that you have. What we haven't tokenized is the money. Right? And so there's still a long way to tokenize. And I actually think of where commerce is going. You have a lot of innovation in commerce. We have the gig economy didn't exist a couple of years back. The subscription economy didn't exist a couple of years back. The marketplace economy didn't exist a couple of years back. To me, all of that becomes the token economy.
Okay, let's come to the biometrics bit of it, because we are a very OTP dependent populace. Everything is OTP. Is biometric really a safer option?
A biometric is a safer option as long as the biometric data doesn't get shared with third parties. And so when you have your phone and you unlock your phone, unlock your device with your face or with fingerprint, your facial or your biometric data never leave your phone. It stays local. What we're doing with Passkey is actually taking that signal, never ever leaving it onto your device, tokenizing it and saying, yes, that person has authenticated itself against the device. We have verified that that authentication is firstly high quality and is accurate, and therefore, dear bank, you can trust that signal to be correct. The advantage of that over an OTP is it cannot be shared by somebody. It cannot be stolen. You cannot lose you can lose your password. You cannot lose your face, right? And so that's why actually passkeys, the way it's set up on the device, is more secure, more trustworthy than an OTP or a password. It is dynamic data and it cannot be stolen. A passkey is only useful if indeed the moment you set it up, it has been verified that you are you. And that is the role of the bank. And so what we do as the setup, at the first time, we are using a verification method and check with the bank, is that person who it is, who it says it is? And then we bind the face of that person, the device, and the credential, your 16-digit number, in one piece, so that for future transactions, you no longer need an OTP, but you can just use your passkey. So there is a step, a little bit of friction for the initial one, because that's the only way you can set it up. But after that, it is extremely simple to use. Now, I'm not saying that the biometric will replace OTP in the space of 1 quarter, right? This will take some time for adoption, as everything in payments, but we will see a gradual movement away from OTP to more secure solutions over time, simply because we all know that there is an increasing worry about the compromise of OTPs at times.
And what do you see as the relevance of cards going ahead in an ecosystem which is changing so quickly, not just in India, but the world over?
I think it's, we just need to be exactly as quick. We need to be first and foremost faster and quicker than the bad guys. That's where we put a lot of emphasis. But also we need to look at what happens in the world. You have instant payments in many places now. We have digital payments. We need to just make sure that we are in lockstep with everything else that happens, and at the same time offer that backwards compatibility in markets where that evolution is a little bit slower.
All right, thank you so much, Jorn, for sitting down with us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Looking very much forward to the rest of this show and the launch of our products.
That was Jorn Lambert. Do stick around, because on the other side of this, you will hear his session on the future of digital payments. Stay tuned.
Global Fintech Fest 2024, held in Mumbai, saw a slew of innovations, with companies unveiling products that promise to shape the future of the financial industry. And that was in fact the overarching goal of the conference: responsible, inclusive and resilient AI for the future of finance. With more than 300 exhibitors present, Mastercard stood out with one of the year's biggest digital payment launches, reiterating its commitment to making the digital payments ecosystem safer and showcasing new technological innovations such as wearables payments, payment ring, soundbox for card, as well as QR payments. With the world moving rapidly towards digital payments, it becomes imperative to draw a roadmap for future digital customers, and that was in fact the theme of one of the conference sessions, shaping the future of digital payments for tomorrow's consumer.
Jorn, a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to have you here. It seems, remarkable, the transformation that digital payments has had in the last 10 years, all over the world, but especially in India. In India, we're already at 800 million transactions daily. And it seems like the default has shifted from cash being the primary mode to digital being the primary mode. And that is the topic we'll explore in detail today. Where are we and what it takes to accelerate the journey, but what are the challenges that we are going to solve together so that we can achieve, full adoption. Does digital seem like the default option? Where do you think we are in the digital journey?
Yeah, so look, it's very obvious that these elements, together with the pandemic, has really accelerated digital, frankly, on every part of our lives, whether it's work, whether it's entertainment, whether it's social interaction, and obviously commerce and payments too. Just in this past few years, we have seen a huge shift. Today, across the world, 3 out of every 4 transactions in store are happening contactless on Mastercard. 3 out of every 4. That's a big difference compared to the past. If you look at countries like Australia, it's 98% are contactless, many of which with a device. If you look at overall e-commerce, is now a very large percentage on our total volume. And we think that digitization and the blurring of digital and physical is only going to continue. And as we develop solutions for that, actually, consumers continue to change. They continue to be hungry for new solutions, for ease of use, for security, for privacy. Technology continues to change with Gen AI only just in its infancy. Commerce itself changing. A couple of years ago, there was no gig economy, there was no subscription economy, there was no marketplace economy. And fast forward, we'll continue to see these waves of change. And unfortunately, bad actors are just as excited as we are about all this change and are just as keen as us to take advantage of this. So we need to be very thoughtful about how we bring innovation so that we bring consumers along and that we keep the bad actors out.
What will continue to drive this digital revolution? You touched upon some of the points about security, but what else will continue to drive full adoption of digital and cement this total shift where cash is only used in exceptional cases and most of the economy is fully digital?
I don't think it's necessarily our objective to eliminate cash. I think cash has its function. But what we want to make sure is that consumers have choice and they can do the things that they want with the tools that is right for the jobs. And above all, that is convenient and that is secure with peace of mind and with privacy. We have a long, long job to do. Delighted that there's 50,000 people downstairs working on that. And I think there'll be 50,000 people for a couple of years to come. So, and again, the world is a big place, right? What you're seeing here will be exported and will need to be applied in Argentina and in Malawi and in Canada and in Vietnam. Right? So there's much to do.
This balance of regulation across the world, right? There is customer protection and safety and soundness of the system, and yet at the same time promoting innovation. What is the balance? What do you see from different regulators across the world? And what is, where do you see India in that space?
Throughout the world, we're seeing a wave of regulators that are very interested in that progress because, as I mentioned earlier on, financial inclusion and credit inclusion is the first step on the ladder of economic progress, and everybody has obviously understood that. Invariably, the regulator is looking at the interests of its citizens in terms of keeping them safe, keeping them secure, and keeping them on the path of prosperity. And so we're in very active debate with these regulators, help them at times to compare notes from what happens in other countries, and we're learning a lot. We're learning a lot from how they think, how they approach things, and often, as it is here in India, they can be also the impetus of innovation. In many countries, regulators are viewed as slowing advances, so slowing innovation. I don't think that's the case here in India, and that's again why we're here and why we're developing many products here.
Sion, thank you very much. Look, on behalf of the whole ecosystem, we'll continue to partner with Mastercard. Look, India is, we are known for JAM, UPI, the mobile revolution, but also in cards, as you said, subscription, tokenization, now with the new smart authentication framework. India leads the world even in card payments. And we'll all together continue to work with Mastercard. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming here.
Well, thank you.
In a world characterized by socio-political tensions, economic uncertainties, and rapid technological advancements, a globally responsible and inclusive financial ecosystem is an imperative. In order to achieve that objective, the Global Fintech Fest brings together the best minds in global fintech space to chart a course for the future through meaningful dialogues and a vibrant exchange of ideas. One such convergence of industry's best minds was during the session on the role of central bank digital currency in connecting economies. A central bank digital currency, also known as CBDC, is a digital currency issued by central bank rather than by a commercial bank. Till now, 6 central banks have launched a CBDC. The Sand Dollar by the Central Bank of the Bahamas, the D-Cash by Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the E-Naira by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Jamdex by the Bank of Jamaica, the Digital Renminbi by the People's Bank of China, the Digital Ruble by the Bank of Russia, and the Digital Rupee by Reserve Bank of India.
We have a really exciting topic to discuss of connecting economies with CBDCs. And I've got a very esteemed panel here. So what I'd like to do is firstly kick off with a question to Mr. Pati to hear the India perspective. If connecting economies, if CBDCs have a role to play, what is that role? What's the pain points we believe CBDCs will help alleviate if done well?
Now, typically, what are the pain points that are associated with the cross-border payments? To my mind, there are 3-4 high-level things that are there. One is the slow speed. The speed of transfer of money from one to the other is really slow. It can be improved, and given the developments in the domestic fast payment systems, this expectation is something that we can, look at, and it's becoming real. Second aspect is in terms of costs, the high costs that are typically associated with the cross-border remittances, and especially the number of hops or the additional hops that you create, they add to the layers of cost and number of intermediaries that you get added to the entire settlement process. And third thing is what really typically plagues the cross-border payments space is the lack of transparency. But the real issue that needs attention is on the FX side, the forex part side, which also adds to the cost component. So this is particularly relevant for India, not only to improve our, benefit our people, our businesses in terms of making cross-border payments efficient. And in that sense, CBDC provides a very good opportunity to look at that. Some of the detailed dimensions we can look at as we go along. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Pati. I'm going to build on what you've just said, and Harish, maybe you can come in on this. The whole concept of connecting economies cannot happen if you're not connecting infrastructures. What's the implications on different infrastructures around the world and their interconnectivity and interoperability? Is shared ledgers, unified ledgers, is that the way forward? What do you see as some of the bigger stumbling blocks that we still need to navigate as a global participant?
Thank you, Ari, and thank you for the invitation to be on the panel. Now, in terms of the challenges in this journey, of course, we need to recognize that people first need to be connected to the financial system to be benefiting from all these different mechanisms which are evolving. And in that, there is a lot of work to be done. So we need to find ways in which the kind of people and small businesses are able to participate in the financial system first. So that's the first order of business. And then the second is many countries are not fully integrated into the global payment systems. So I think we need to ensure that as part of this journey, they are not left behind. These solutions should actually help them and not kind of entrench further their challenges. And then I think the other element is related to the integration of the private payment service providers into this ecosystem. We should not underestimate the role of entities like payment gateways, banks, other payment service providers, who are the ones who ultimately provide the payment service to the end customer, how are they integrated into this global infrastructure as it is evolving, I think is something we have to take into account. And then finally, I think from an interoperability perspective, I think we need to look at interoperability between fast payment systems, and central bank digital currencies. And then, of course, at the instrument level, I think we need to have all the different payment service providers should also be able to connect to these different infrastructures.
Well, thank you, Harish. I think you've talked about a number of different asset classes, digital assets, currencies. It's a great time to bring Ushida-san into the discussion. Ushida-san, why don't you give us a little bit of the perspective from Japan? You know, Japan has had stable coins, cryptocurrency. You're also looking at CBDCs. What's your perspective on how this ecosystem is going to evolve?
Thank you very much for having me. My point is that, this kind of private sector initiative and then CBDC are not enemy to each other. It's more like, coexist in the future. So, and for now, Japan does not decide to issue CBDC, retail CBDC, at least as of now. So it will take at least, a few or a couple of years ahead, but we need to solve cross-border payment issues, and we need a kind of digital form of means of payment to settle digital assets like NFT, security tokens, and tokenized bond, whatever. And then CBDC could be something like, wholesale. CBDC could be underlying infrastructure for the tokenized depositors, stablecoin, or other types of token. So, and that's a kind of, something we are envisioning for the near term, mid term, and then long term. So that's all for myself. Thank you.
No, thank you, Ushida-san. I want to thank the panelists for a thoughtful, engaging discussion. This is a journey, as we all know, and I know there are other questions. Please accost any of the panelists as they get off if you want to really keen to get your questions answered. Thank you very much.
With a massive global launch and a slew of products that empower businesses, provide financial freedom across segments, and protect customers, Mastercard made good on its commitment to make commerce smarter, safer, and more inclusive. This year's Global Fintech Fest saw Mastercard showcase transformative innovations that are laying the foundation of a self-reliant and digitally enabled India. With Mastercard reimagining the future of finance, the fintech ecosystem in India is set to witness further evolution.